meanwhile the postman is loaded. So first of all, let's say I'm writing something like this. Okay, name. Okay, and here something like a balloon. Okay, and something like a age, something like a 30. Okay, something like this. Place, let's say something like a H value, something like this. Okay, so if you observe this one, right, there may be some spaces and all everything. So you can have this button like a remove white space button. Whenever you click on the remove white space button, so basically what will happen, all the spaces can be removed and your JSON will be properly formatted in such a way. And whenever you click on the format button, it will convert your JSON in a proper way. I mean, it is like in a proper format. So people may ask like, do we need to put this double quotes on the keys and all? So in the normal in the for the normal what it is called, for the normal objects, if you are handling in a JavaScript, you don't need this one. But if you are trying to handle this one on this what it is called in a Postman or somewhere, definitely you will go with the JSON format. JSON stands for the JavaScript object notation. So you need to understand how the JSON will work. So basically what JSON will do, it is a set of all key value pairs. Key value pairs, as I mentioned, this is a key and this is a value. Okay, so once if the Node.js server is trying to read the particular what it is called, the request parameters from the body or from the URL, or I mean, there are only two possibilities. Either from the URL you need to send it, or you are from the body you can send it. When you're sending from the body, basically what it will do, it will consider like it is a plain string. But whenever you are using some package called a body parser, I think I already discussed about this stuff, right? Body parser stuff. There is something called a body parser. Okay, this is one of the package. Whenever you are using a body parser package, it is works as a middleware. Whenever you use this middleware, then definitely what it will do, it will first take your body from the request and it will convert that into a proper format. So now my question is, how it is reading the body. Earlier it is not reading the body. Now how it is reading the body, that is what the question is. Internally, what is happening inside the body parsers? Inside the body parsers, something called a method called a JSON. So JSON stands for the JavaScript object notation. Whenever you are calling this method, then internally what will happen inside this particular what we can call it as a, inside the package, everything will be, the body will be read. And whenever you see this, right, internally I call you like JSON viewer or something, JSON viewer dot stack dot view. There are a lot of tools are there. So body parser will convert that into a proper format. Okay, so and before going to this backend stuff, I mean to say like how this is working and all, any package can have some piece of code. Of course, nowadays everyone is using a TypeScript and all. Okay, so you can see here the package has a TypeScript declaration provided by types or slash a body parser. Okay, so that means at the rate of type slash body parser is another package where we need to go to that package and try to understand how the body parser will work. Okay, so it has a strict types are there, that is a at the rate of type slash body parser. Okay, so make sure while you are using any of the Node.js project, you nowadays there are a lot of importance, not only just for a JavaScript. You need to little bit understand about a TypeScript as well. Okay, TypeScript in the sense it is not like a simple numbers and strings. There are few things called generics, interfaces. There are a lot of stuff is there. Okay, I won't insist you to learn this immediately, but down the line you need to learn this stuff. If you are not learning this stuff, definitely there is a problem. Because once if you're going for further any of the companies, right, people are expecting a lot of stuff here. Okay, so there is something like a TypeScript docs are there. It is a best site, you don't need to go anywhere. It is a very good site, typescriptlang.org. Okay, I will paste it here for your references, guys, but definitely I suggest you to go through this site. Okay, I will take one weekend. I mean, if there is any Saturday, I will take one session on this TypeScript related. So basically, it will take a 2 to 3 hours continuously. So there are something called a utility types, enumeration is there, mixings are there, namespace is there. Like these are a minimum, very very small stuff, like creating a types from the types and generics and classes modules already you are aware of, condition types, map types. Along with that, there are other additional topics also there, like if you are talking about a tries or modules. So however we are creating a JavaScript, in JavaScript what we basically we will do, we will create one sorry we will create one file with a .ts, right? I mean .js file, right? So instead of .js file, we will create something called a .ts file. Okay, with that .ts file, basically what will happen, like just like a Node.js, it will work as a TypeScript file. Okay, just a minute. I want to open this open folder Node project. This is the one is ours, right? Okay. So app.js is done, global middlewares, local middlewares, routing is done. Okay, and particularly I'm telling you, middlewares is really, really very important concept. Don't only not only just the middlewares, whatever we have learned. Instead of that, we have a lot of other middlewares as well. You need to go with the there are a lot of like Log4j is one of the tool. You can use it everything as a middlewares. Okay, so in the previous sessions, we have stopped somewhere. You remember that or not? So first of all, slash user call, it will go to the router call. Router call will go to here. Here in the router call, we will use the controller instead of controller. We are sending the data like this. Instead of that, what I told, like we will have one session, so that where what we will do, we will create one something like Mongo related stuff, and we will write it, right. We will try to continue the same thing here. See, this is the app.js, right? Similarly, what we will do, you remember that there is a code we have written already. I will try to just reuse the code same here. The first thing is for MongoDB, for the connection pool, this is what we are using. You remember const path of require path require dot environment. Okay, PostgreSQL you need to install, and then okay, first of all, let me run this PostgreSQL, something called a pgadmin. Okay, go to pgadmin and open this pgadmin. I was supposed to open everything, but I don't know. Sorry. Okay. Meanwhile, it will open. Basically, what we will do, we will just copy this one, and then first of all, what we will do, we will go to our actual code base, and here keep this routes as well. And along with that, I will create one thing called connection.js. Okay. If you are remember this name correctly, I have kept the same name when I'm trying to use a utilize a normally. Okay. So here I just need to comment out few of the stuff definitely. The thing is like you remember like connection.client.await.pool and client, right? This is where we are connecting to the client. After that, yeah, I'm writing all this stuff, right? So I should not supposed to write all this stuff. First of all, just comment out this piece of code. Here, my job is the connection.js is a file where we need to connect to the PostgreSQL, and then simply what we need to do, we need to create a variable called a client variable. That's it. Apart of that, we should not do anything. Okay. So here, what we can do, export dot client equals to await data pool data connect. So by this time, what will happen, the client will created here, this client will definitely connect to the database, and it will simply what it will do, like basically it will return the client. I mean to say, like this is a exports dot, right? So basically what we are doing, we are simply exporting that one. Now go to the app.js. Here what you need to do is simply take that variable, something like a client, okay, equals to required of oh, required of client, something like that, dot slash connection.js is the file. Okay, that's it. Okay. Now, whenever you are taking this client, if you observe this one, right, we are writing some asynchronous function and opening and writing all these functions, right? You can utilize the same thing here. Just copy this one, go to the app.js. So here, I'm not doing anything. I will go to the, I mean, before I'm going to the user router and all, first of all, I will just place this code here. I just want to show you whether we are successfully able to connect to the client or not. Here, select star from users is my query. Inside the query, what I'm trying to do, avail pool dot connect is there, right? Wait, pool dot connect. Okay. First of all, you need to have a pool as well. Okay. What is this pool? It is a new pool of something, right? Okay. Okay. Pool dot connect. It is came here. I'm sorry. So here we don't need this line. So simply you can write asynchronous function where client dot query of so and so and so. We can execute the rows. If there is any rows, then it will display. Otherwise, it will show you the error and then client dot release. Now this is fine. Now go to the package.json. Inside the package.json, I am using a nodeman for the start. So I can say something like a npm run start. This is what my command we can use. Here when I click on npm run command, so then it is running await is only valid in asynchronous functions. Okay, come back to here. Oh, sorry. This pool dot connect is there right now. Now what is happening? Like we are simply using await, but without a async we are using, right? So that is the reason we are getting this error. No worries. I will fix this. Okay. So basically, this is a IFE. You remember immediately invoke function expression. So here I'm writing one function, something like this, a synchronous function. Inside this synchronous function, I'm writing one callback array, callback method. Inside the callback method, await a pool dot to connect. That's it. Okay, nothing much. And simple. Okay, now inside the asynchronous function, what you are trying to do is you are just trying to connect to that one and immediately export that client. Whatever the client is there, then you need to export that one. So you can put something called a client equals to, okay, now you can, yes, that's it. Even if you are not see, you need to declare this one, otherwise it won't work. So basically what you can do, you can simply take something like a const, sorry, you need to use a let, because if you are using a constant or inside the block scope you cannot rewrite this one, so that is the reason. So simply you can say client this one. So async and the client is await dot a pool dot connect, and simply you are exporting this one, and whenever you are exporting that one, go to the app.js and here you can just take this one. Okay, okay, fine. There may be error, no issues, we can solve this one. But before going to that part, I want you to okay, you need to understand a little bit here. Let me do one thing. I will create one simple file, something like a test uh, test proto.js. Okay, so just keep open this one. Close others. Okay, now you remember, like I told you something about a prototype you need to learn. How many of you are aware of what is a prototype is? Did you, can you guys raise your hands or speak, unmute yourself and you can speak, right? I just allowed all participants to unmute themselves and you can speak. Like how many of you are comfortable with the prototype one? Because we are going to use something called a prototype in the further sessions. I mean, once we are connecting to the app and then we are connecting to the Node.js and sorry. Okay. Okay, first of all, go to here. Let's say I'm taking some empty tab here. Go to inspect const. Okay, I mean, I will show you what is a proto and all. But you heard about this. I mean, we discussed something about a reduce map filter. You remember, right? So I'm just writing some simple example here. Simply, I can take an array, something like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, simple, a very simple example. I just want to make you understand how the prototype will work. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, what we will do? Somebody asked you like convert this array by uh, convert each and every element or cubing the each and every element inside the array. That means each and every element in the inside the array you need to make a cube. So let's say 1 cube, 2 cube, 3 cube, 4 cube, 5 cube you need to find, and you need to convert that into array. For that, basically what you can do, you can take another array, something like a array one. Usually in a traditional way, what we will do, we will take one empty array and we will simply write one for loop. Okay, for idx equals to 0, something like this. That is the way we will process, right? So instead of writing this simple traditional for loop and all, we can have another concept called a map. Basically, array.map is one of the method. So what we can do here, we can pass one callback. Inside the callback, basically you can pass an index value and element and the current array as well. So I'm just passing the element value. Inside the element value, I want to return something. What is that return value? That is an element into element into element. You remember I told you this particular thing, right? For example, if you are just printing a console.log, something like an array.1, basically what will happen here, if you observe this one, right? If you observe this one, oh sorry, if you observe this one, right, npm run space, okay, I can run individual files, something like a node space test proto.js. Okay. So if you are running test proto.js, you can see like 2 cube means 8, 3 cube means 27, 4 cube means 64, 5 cube means 125. This is what basically we will do. And to make it simplification, what you need to do is if it is only one line, you don't need to use a return statement and curly braces as well. Simply you can put a element dot element dot element. That's it, simple. And even if you are passing only one element as an argument, you don't need to put this brackets, half moon brackets as well. But yeah, it will work in the same way. Okay, this is one of the simplest way what we have discussed earlier. Now my question is, array.map we have used, right? Somebody asked you something like a array.map, right? Why can't we use something like a array.cube of every element? So somebody asks you to make a function something like this. Seriously, if you go for here, right? I mean to select, if you go for uh, if you go for a developer's Mozilla MDN here, right? So now let's say if you are going for a concept called arrays, okay. So if you go for an array, inside the array there are a lot of methods from async, is array, of, prototype dot add, concat, copy with, everything. But do we have any method something like this? What the method is, cube of every element. Okay, so we really don't have any method with the cube of every element method is there. See, with the C concat copy with only two methods are there are no any other method. But somebody in your interview or somewhere, people are asking like why can't you prepare a method something like a cube of every element method? Okay, so I don't want to use an array.map. Instead of that, I want to use this one. To understand this one, basically what you need to do is you need to understand what is a prototype is. Okay, for example, if you are declaring one variable, right? So inside the variable, see, browser may be different, and here in a Node.js it can be different. Okay, there is something called a proto. Okay, for example, first of all, let's say I just control X. Okay, leave it as it is. I will come back to the Node.js side. First of all, go to here. Okay, let's say you have taken one array, something like this, array 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, now basically what you want to do is you just want to display array, simple array. What is an array here? If you observe this one, right, there is an array 1 2 3 4 5. When you click on this one, 0 1 2 3 5, that is, these are all the indexes. Okay, you can see length is a 5. Can you see there is some another value here? Basically I have put 1 2 3 4 5. I never put this prototype of array of 0 and all. But if you observe this one, right, when you click on this one, it is showing all the methods: add, concat, construct, and just now we saw this one, right? Add, concat, construct, and all these methods from the date, from the here in the documentation. The same kind of methods, every method is available here. You can see includes, index of joins. Seriously, I never put that one. But if you go for inside the prototype, there is something called, again, one more prototype object is there. But if you click on this one, again you can see like constructor has one method, is property. Seriously, these are all the object methods. If you go for a documentation search for object, right, inside the object you can see these methods like has one property, is prototype of blah blah blah, and all these things. Okay, so inside that there is something called underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, right? See, there is not a single underscore, there is a two underscores. These are called a dunzo property. Okay, dunzo proto. We call it as a dunzo proto. If you have any questions, right, just Google it about the dunzo proper, dunzo proto. Okay, so Dinjo proto. Okay, or you have Dinzo. There is something called Dinzo, spelling wrong. Okay, you just read about this one. Meanwhile I will share some proper link, or whatever the link you can get. I will share it with you. We call it as a Dunzo proto. Okay, so remember one thing. It is not only for the array. Remember, when I click on array, expand the array, I got something called a prototype. Okay, see, if you want to only display this prototype, right, you can say something like this. Okay, there is an array. Okay, underscore proto. Okay, so underscore proto. If you observe this one, right, it will display all the prototype, add all this stuff. Okay, here if you go for again something like array dot underscore proto underscore dot underscore proto underscore. If you observe this one, right, it is displaying all the object methods. These are all the object methods. Okay, so up to two layers you can go. Okay, because array of prototype is displaying an object of prototype is displaying the actual object. That's it. After that, if you go something like dot underscore proto underscore underscore, you cannot see anything because it is undefined. Okay, always remember only up to two layers in the sense whenever you go for a everything, even if you are talking about a function, if you are talking about an object, everything is a part of, everything is considered as an object. Every prototype is nothing but goes at last, finally it will go to the object only. For example, if I am having something like an object, okay, let's say if I'm having something like object here, I don't have anything, okay, simply I can call it as object. If you observe this one, right, when you expand this one, it is showing something like a prototype. Seriously, I didn't put that. When you go to the object again, there is something like an underscore underscore prototype, right? So even if you go for an array, it will come to the object and object will go to the null. Similarly, if you come to the object, object is having a null. Not only this one, even if you are taking some simple function, right, even that simple function also doing the same kind of job. Let's say, for example, there is a function of ABC. Okay, inside the ABC, you are not doing anything. Simply, you are just having a function ABC. If you call it, oh, sorry. If you are calling a function ABC, right? When you see this function, okay, this the invocation is not this way, but if you are having this function, right, definitely again this function will go to the object prototype. Okay, so everything will go to the object prototype. If you want, I mean, earlier we don't have a ES6. ES6 is came to the picture by the time this classes and this object oriented everything came to the picture, like constructors, extends class, and super class. Everything came to the picture, but before that we don't have anything called a ES6. So that at that time, what basically people try to do everything where they want to extend by using this prototype only. Okay, so how we can use this I mean to say, like, how we can use this prototype and all. Okay, uh, just a minute, uh, just a second, guys. This is another one. Where it is, I found it somewhere. Okay, fine, no issue. So now just understand what is prototype will do. Okay, let's say I will do something like a console.log. Okay, array dot underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. Okay, basically this is what simple object is, right? So if you observe this one, right, there is something called object. But in a JavaScript side, if you want to display the prototype and all, there is something called a prototype is there. Okay, but don't try to use this one until unless it is really required, because there are some performance issues will become. But if you want to display something, you can use this one. Now my question is, what is the relation between this prototype and what is this map method is? See, the, why I am talking about all these stuff. Okay, there is something called add, concat, copy with. But when you go for here, right, you can see there is a inside the documentation itself they will mention like a array dot prototype dot array dot prototype dot something, right? Similarly, if you are talking about a map method, this is the map method we have used, right? Inside the map method, people simply taking the array dot map method, whatever they want to write the code, they are writing the code. But how this prototype came to the picture? This means whatever the methods we are seeing inside the array, everything was declared inside the concept called a prototype. So every array, whatever you are writing, everything comes into the prototype only. Okay, first of all, I will come up with a simple example for you to make you understand. Okay, so let's say now there is an array. Inside the array dot prototype, I have something called this. Okay, for example, you see this is a map method. Okay, similarly, you can see something called a concat method. Similarly, I want to write another method here. Okay, what is that method? Something like a cubes of every cubes of an array. Let's see. I have taken one minute. Okay. You know this one, right? You can use something like this. Either you can use something like this, or else you can write it something like a equals to of something like a function. Okay. You can declare a function like this. Okay. Now, if you observe this one, right? Whenever you are trying to use this one, I'm not trying to do anything. Simply I can do one simple step. What it is? Let's say I have take okay. Instead of writing this one, I will use simple for loop. Inside the for loop, I will just let take one variable called let idx equals to 0. That is a starting index of a array, and idx is less than array dot length, right? But we are applying this method on the top of directly array, right? So whenever you want to have the current instance, you have a this operator. If you are not aware of this, I mean, basically, if you are using this in a either Java or .NET, in that places you can use. But here, if you want, you can utilize this array, this dot length, and like idx plus plus. Okay, this is how you can do. Instead of writing anything, I'm simply printing that value. That is a what is a this dot or this of idx value. This is nothing but a current instance. That is a current array. Whatever the array you are applying on, that particular array element is nothing but this. That's it. Okay. So this array is there, right? You can do something like a ARAY. You can give a complete name. If you observe this one, right? Array dot prototype, right? The same way we can give an array dot prototype dot this. Okay. Now how can I apply this one? For example, if I use something called array, this is my array dot. See, if you observe this one, right? Earlier it is not there, cubes of an array, but we defined our new method. If you are writing something like this, right, it will not do anything. Simply it will just display that one. Okay. So whenever you call this method, what will happen? If you run this one, right, just 1, 2, 3, 4. Seriously? Earlier there is no cubes of an array, but now we defined our own array. Just like a map, just like a filter, just like a reduce, we are writing our own, what it is called, own method. If this is really helpful, you can go here and you can publish here. I mean, if you are writing some unique methods, right, you can go for javascript mdn people and you can ask like, okay boss, I created one new method and this method is very useful, so you can put that method here. Simple. Somebody asks you, see, there is no method to filter out all the even numbers. Is there any method? Usually you will use a filter method, right? Basically inside the filter method, what we will do, you will use a array dot filter of, you will write one callback method. Inside the callback you will write some code like that element modulus 2 equals to 0. Then definitely you need to return that one. That is what usually you used to do. But why can't we write our own method? Simply I can say something like a array dot prototype dot. Okay, I will write something like a even numbers. Okay, even numbers, what is that means? Okay, so basically what you will do, simply you can do something like this. Here I will try to create one another array. Simply I will write something like a temporary array, temporary. Okay, in my temporary array I don't have anything, but here I can use something like this, temporary array dot filter. Okay, you can use a filter method or something, anything you want to here. Okay, this filter method will, oh sorry, this filter method will temporary array equals to this dot filter. That means we are applying on the current array dot filter of, you need to pass some element here. Inside the element, what you will do, I mean to say like you are writing a very simple code, so that's the reason I don't want to put up very heavy code. Instead of that element, so element modulus 2 is equals to 0. Simple. So in that cases, what will happen? You will return one temporary array. In that temporary array, you will return that temporary array here. Seriously, I don't have any method like a, okay, instead of even numbers, I will write something like a get even numbers from array. Basically, there is no method. Seriously, I don't have any method, such a method here. If you go for a documentation and even go on site share, you can't see any method, something like this. Get even numbers array. So now what I will do, I will just simply call a array dot get even numbers from array. That's it. Nothing much. Okay. But here we are not displaying anything. So simply what you need to do, you need to put it inside the console.log, cl.console.log, and just put this. Say there is a difference between this cubes of an array method and get even numbers of an array. Basically, cubes of an array method will print something, so you don't need to use a console.log. Even if you are using a console.log, then what will happen? This method will print all the numbers, and finally that console.log will print an undefined value because it is not returning anything. But in these cases, what we are doing is we are not printing anything here. We are simply passing the values, and inside the on the top of that values, we are just simply writing the filter and just returning one temporary array. So whenever you are calling this get even numbers from array, so basically in a real time, people what usually need to do is they will do something like a const even array equals to, they are just simply calling like this, and just they are printing something like this. Of course, instead of taking another third variable, I don't want to waste my memory, so that's the reason directly I'm keeping it. So if you run this one, what will happen? See, 2 and 4 are the even numbers from the given array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the Node.js, basically the same thing we are going to use. If you are using, I mean, if in a heavy project, I mean to like if you are writing a very big projects, and if you are working on the very big projects, basically what they want to do is they want to don't pollute the code. So that is the reason what simply they will do. They will, instead of writing this filter methods, blah blah blahs and all, they will simply write their own methods and directly they will use this method. So they will something called a prototype.js. There is another file. Inside that file, they will write all these prototype methods. On the prototype methods, they simply call these methods, and they will simply what it is called export those methods, and they can utilize those methods inside wherever you are calling the particular variables. How many of you are really didn't understood what is this prototype is? Please do let me know. If you want a brief discussion on that, then definitely I will go. But yeah, at least how you can implement a method on the array. Similarly, there is something like if you go for object, right? I will show you simple example. If you go for here, right? I will take something called an object. Okay, inside the object, you remember we have some methods like create, assign, define properties, entries, all these kind of methods are there, right? Object.keys, let's say there is a method called object.keys. Basically, what is object.keys will do? Object.keys will return all the key values. Similarly, object.values will return all the value parameters, values of a particular object, right? So how the object.keys are defined? We know object.keys will return a keys, but how this object.keys will return? That is the question. Inside object.keys, what is the core code? Now you need to write that core code and you need to implement in such a way like you need to define your core code. So basically what I will do, let's say I have something called a, I'm this something called, this is called a polyfill. These are called, whenever you are applying a new method on the existing prototype, then these are called a polyfills in the sense either writing a duplicate for the existing method, you need to write a code for the duplicate code for the existing methods, or you need to create or write your own code. Something like let's say you remember when you're learning a C programming language, right? People will ask like strlen is the method, okay, which is a string method to find the length of the string. But how you know what is inside the string length method? You will write your core code, right? So similarly here object.keys you can write simply like a, let's say there is an object, inside the object something like a name is my key, and inside the name I have something called a bar. Okay, I don't want to write it again. Instead of that I will just copy from here. Okay, because basically we already have a thing, right? So I have let obj equals to something like this. Okay, now either you can go ahead with the double quotes, or even in the node.json we don't need to have the double quotes, but value side you need to have them, but otherwise you don't need to have them. Okay, now somebody is writing this one, and somebody, if you have something like a console.log here, you can do something like object dot keys of that's it. Okay, so what are the object dot keys here? Let's say you are passing some object, then you can write the code, and you can see here it will display all the keys here. But can we write the same code in this way? Why I'm trying to use a object.keys? Basically they wrote this keys method on the top of object prototype, not on the this object prototype. So I want to execute in this way something like obj.keys. I want to suppose to display this one. Seriously, this is error, it will really throw you error. Don't worry, I will rectify this one. Object.keys is really not method. Basically if you click on the objects, right, whenever you click a dot method, right, immediately the VS code, whatever the editors you are using, either it can be a VS code or anything, it will print all the supporting methods. It is not like it will not print their own method. Instead of that, whatever the supported methods are there, it will print only those things. So I don't want to use object.keys. That is the reason if you come to the documentation, right, here you can see these are not a prototype methods. These are all just general object methods. These are something called a static method. If you go something like a object dot prototype dot get define setter, define getter, lookup setter, see has on property, is property, these are all prototype methods. Similarly, somebody asks you like why can't you write a polyfill for a keys method? The keys is already there, but you want to write it as a inside the keys. Okay, now how we can do that? So basically what you will do, you will write it in such a way, something like a, you will take the object. Okay, dot prototype is the method where you want to display, or we want to write a prototype or a polyfill for a particular method. You can write something called a keys method. Okay, earlier there is no such a method called a keys method on the top of object, but now I mean object prototype, now you are trying to write this one. So basically what you will do, you are writing one simple function. Okay, here what, see, this is always the current object. Okay, remember one thing, this means it's a current object. Now you want to display some value for something like this, display object.keys. Now you want to display all the keys like username, email, and age, and it should return some array, right? So that is the reason what I will do. I will simply take some array, something like a array instead of array. I mean the array is empty array for now. Now you remember how you can loop over the object. If you want to loop over the object, you need to use something like a for each or for in. Did you guys aware of that one? No. Okay, I have something called foreign you can use. I mean, you can directly use a foreign or something. Okay, so I will write it here simply. I will, oh my God, just a minute. Okay, for, okay, uh, key in what is that? That object is obj, right? Instead of obj, you will take a this object. Okay. So this is the key. So instead of that key, you can just put a, you remember there is a method called array dot push method. Push method will push some value into the array. So array dot push of something like a key. That's it. After this one, so once this is loop over is done for key in this array dot push of key, that's it. Then you need to return, sorry, return that array. That's it. Now, if you see this one, right, you have defined keys. Instead of keys, I will write something called a my keys. Okay, my object keys. Let's say my obj keys. Okay, this is what my method I have wrote here. So whenever you define this method, right? So if you go here, it will print something like a my obj keys method. It will show here, and just use that method. Whenever you use this method, it will just return some array which is the same of object dot keys. You are writing a polyfill for this one, right? So save this one and just a minute. Guys, can you see my screen? I'm sorry, it was stopped. Okay. So just go here and run your code. And if you observe this one, right? Username, blah blah blah, and my object is. I mean to say, like, you are displaying this one, so that is the reason my object is method will come. But it is not like that. Basically, object dot my object is username, email, name, and why the additional my object keys is appending here. Okay. First of all, I will just put a console.log of this. I will just display my object. Okay. First of all, I want to see what is my object is. Okay. So my object is the username, email, and age. Only three are there. Then why additionally this is coming? You should not, right? Did we did some mistake? There is an array. Okay. So key in this one. That is correct. What is that? Okay, let me do one thing. I will just cut this one. I will take one variable, something like my keys. Okay, this my keys inside the my keys. I'm just calling this method and just trying to display this my keys method. Okay, now what is happening over here? What username, email, age is there? My object is so. Oh, when you are using a prototype, right? Inside the prototype, basically what will happen? Okay, you need to write a simple condition here. If key is not equals to this one. Basically, every object method is a prototype of inside the object. So that is the reason what it is doing. It is first it is searching for the current object, and again it is going for its prototype as well. Inside the prototype, my object keys is another method. So that is the reason it is pushing that key as well. So I don't want to push that key. So only when the key is not is equals to that my method name, then only you push that. Otherwise, you don't need to push this one. Okay, simple. So somebody asks you like object dot keys of object, it is displaying all the keys. So how it is working inside? In the background, this is the code we are. I mean, they are having this one. They're having this piece of code. Inside this piece of code, we are doing some prototyping and just trying to display all the keys. Not only this one, you need to write your own code. I mean, it is the best practice. Go for here and try to implement the polyfills for all the other methods too. So there is a seal method, there is a two local string, two string value of. So there are a lot of methods are there. Try to write a polyfills for each and every method. I mean, it is not for everything, but at least whatever you can do, just try to write a polyfill for those particular methods. Okay, because this prototype is a very important concept, and we are going to use this prototype in a current statements. I mean, it was like once your DB part is connected successfully, right? Then definitely what you need to do, you just need to write a prototype for each and every method. So internally, how these things are connecting. So these are all simple dots. Only the thing is you need to connect to all the dots and try to understand how the things are working here. Okay, we will go with that part. Like I will show you how we can connect to the database and all. But before that, you guys needs to do some small work. You remember we write some routes and all. Instead of write routes middleware, after that it will come to the route to the controller to the services, right? So here in the controller we are calling something called a response dot something like this, right? So now what I will do, let me do one thing. First of all, remove this connection.js for today. Anyways, we do have a code base in our notes, so that is fine. And then what we will do, we will go for app.js. Inside the app.js, I will just try to remove this one for now. Okay, and this connection is not required for now. Okay, now, so if you observe this one, right? Controller layer is done, DB layer is done, but we have not done with the service layer, right? First of all, you need to create another folder called services. Okay, inside the services, basically services. Inside the services folder, let's say in the controller, what you have something like a user controller.js. Similarly, you need to create a. I'm sorry. Just a minute, guys. I did a small mistake. Small mistake. Just a minute. Inside the recycle bin, there is something called a controller. This is what I removed. So I just want to restore. Okay, this is restoring is done. Now, if you come back to our code base, refresh. Okay, controller code is here. Now, what you need to do, you need to create one folder here. Okay, so what you can do, I can create one folder here, something called a services. Okay, inside the services, let's say the same name you need to follow user controller.js. Similarly, I need to create another file called a user services.js. So what user services.js is having something like a same user list and all. So instead of writing here response.send and all, I will remove everything here. I mean to select control gen, I mean control X, you go to here services and I'll paste it here for a time being. Just keep it as it is. First of all, see, whenever you are writing the code in such a way, data pass from the routing layer to the controller layer, from the controller layer to the service layer. But when you observe this one, right? Every time whenever you send some request, that request and response objects are there, right? You see the response and request object when you go to the request user router, right? If you go for the router file, inside the router file there is something called a user router. Inside the user router you can see the request and response. From here you can see this request and response. So how we are getting that user and request and response? Because of express.router. Whenever you are using a express.router method, this router method will bring that all request and response to you. That is the reason whenever you go to the controller from here, inside the controller, you can pass the request and response here. Basically, physically, you are not sending the data request and response, but internally, you are passing this request and response. And remember one thing, you should pass that request and response only up to the controller layer. After controller layer, whatever the code you are writing, either it is a service layer or a DB layer, definitely these layers should not know what is a request and response, because this is a hard stop for all request and response objects. Once you send that, people may ask the question, what if I pass the request and response from controller to service? Yes, you can pass that. There is no issue. But it is a very bad practice, because service layer is completely a independent layer. Inside this independent layer, if you send this request and response, people can easily know that. I mean, it's like the third party people can easily know that what is your request and response. For example, so I told you one time, I asked you to read about a microservice architecture. Do you remember this one? Microservice architecture versus monolithic architecture, I told you. Okay. I mean, in our notes, it is there. Monolithic in the sense it's a single server we will do. In the microservice, in the sense it is a small servers are there. For example, let's say my application is something called a enterprise application, or something called a any enterprise application like AWS or Flipkart, or Amazon or Flipkart. That kind of somebody is dividing the task. Okay. So the microservice are there. For example, what is a microservice means? Microservice in the sense small services are there. So in these scenarios, what I will do, I have something called in our enterprise application, I have something called a cart service is there. Okay. Similarly, cart service, some just like this, I have called a payment service is there. Okay. Payment service. Okay. Let's say I am creating this payment service and card service. Everything is independently. That means card service is one server and payment service is another server, and something like a delivery or order service. Let's say there is order service is another service. So this is all another different servers. Now basically what is happened, when you add a card and go for a payment and place the order, these are three tasks which are having in a three places. Now what Amazon people will do, they created three new microservices, like all these three services. Now third party, let's say I have created my own portal, something like a Kukatpally delivery center. Let's say somebody there, I have created some enterprise application. Okay, I don't know what is that name. Let's say I created them. Inside that, I want to utilize the payment service. Yes, I can utilize that. But while at the time of integrating for the payment service, I should not send my all the request and response. If I send my all request and response, right? What Amazon people will do, simply they can hack your server, and they simply what they will do, whatever they know every details if you send the request and response to the payment service. Basically, what will happen if you send the request, right? They know from which browser it is coming. They know what is the card number. They know what is the CVV, and they know what is the browser you are using. They know what is the location, from which location you are order. Everything they need to know. But payment service, the name itself indicates it is only for the payment service. It is not to know the entire object. I mean request object. So that is the reason what payment service is implemented in such a way in AWS. Like you need to send the payment method. Let's say what are the payment method you are using. Either it is a card or net banking or something. Let's say if it is a card method, then the optional parameter is something like a card number. Okay, and that too masked card number. I can say it's a masked card number they will pass, and a part of that, what they will do, they will send something like a CVV or something. Okay, once they send the masked card number and expiry date and something like a CVV, that's it. What they need to do, this payment service will take this parameters here, and they will authorize your payment request, and they will send one OTP. Once the OTP is done, then simply the payment is done. They will send one transaction number. So basically what they will return some transaction number. The same thing happened, right? uh, let's say if you are ordering something in the AWS, basically what payment service will do, it will first redirect to the bank side. Inside the bank side, you will pass the card number. It is a mask and expiry date and CVV. Mask doesn't pass three digits or something, or card name and everything you will pass. Once that it pass, the bank will authorize the payment, and it will return the transaction number, and the payment service will keep the transaction number for your purpose. So if you observe this one, right, here the payment service is an individual server. I can say it's individual microservice. So this service should not know what is the request and what is the response and all. Simply, it will take some parameter values, and it will return some transaction number. That's it, right? Similarly, while you are writing some piece of code in your application, make sure whatever the controller layer is there, that should contains all the request and response. From here, if you are calling some service, let's say here what I will do, uh, let's say I will do something like this. I will go to user service here. Okay, inside the user service, first of all, I will write something like this, exports dot. Okay, so basically what is this method? Get user list, right? I will write some same way, like get user list is my method. Okay, get user list service. I will write something like this. Insert the get user list service method. Okay, basically it is a function, right? So basically what you can do, you can simply write it something like this, equals to. Okay, it is a function. Okay, in this function, basically what I will do, I will just take some parameters. Either you can take some parameters or may not take some parameters. I'm not taking anything. Whenever people call this get user service something, then simply I will return this one. I mean to say like return this object. Okay, this is an object basically. So inside the object, this we need to make it as in the form of object. Just a minute, guys. We need to make it as a form of object. So basically I will take a key value, and pair is nothing but a one array. That's it. So whenever you are having this get user list services, you are exported already here, right? So what I will do, I will close this one. I don't need this route one. Really, I don't need this one. I close this one. In the app.js, I don't need all this stuff. I will comment out this particular stuff for now. I don't need this one. Okay, first of all, go to the controller layer. Inside the controller layer, what you need to do, simply you can do something like this, const. Okay, so you remember like how in the router we taken this one, like user controller equals to require something like this, user controller dot get the same way I'm doing here. Okay, something like a user service is my method. Okay, user service is a variable. Inside the user variable, I write something like a require. Inside the require, you need to take that path, something like a dot slash. Okay, what is that? I just go with a one step back. Okay, dot slash. Inside here the services is here slash. Inside the services we have calling a user service. You don't need to put the JS and all. Now user service is there, right? Now what I will do, I will go here, and I will return from value from here. What is that return value? Okay, or basically what you need to do is I will take something like a const. response to send back. Okay, this is my variable, one variable. Inside the variable, user service is one of the method. Inside the user service, we have one method, something called, you remember the method name is get user list services. Okay, I will go here and I will invoke this method. Okay. Whenever you call the service here, response to send back is the method variable or value you received, right? Now, what you need to do, you need to send a response back, right? So simply response dot send of this value. That's it. Okay. For your convenience purpose, what I will do, I will go to the services here. Inside the services, I will add something like this. You. Okay, just to make sure, like okay, you are using in the right path. Okay. So what is this? Expressions of blah blah blah. What? Export dot this one, that okay. I don't need this one. Oh, I'm sorry, spelling wrong. Function, spelling wrong. So now it is correct, right? So there is no errors, nothing. Okay, this semicolon is fine. Now, whenever you are invoking this from the controller, the service layer will be invoked. From the service layer, you are returning to the controller layer. Inside the controller layer, user service dot get user service method will be invoked. Whenever the get service user service method is invoked, you need to get some value here and you need to send back here. That's it. Okay, you're not doing anything else. Okay, now what I will do, I will just put npm run start. Okay, guys, just give me 1 second, please. Just 1 second. Response not different. What is that? Where it is? User services dot 13. Okay, where it is? Did we use any response here? I remember that. Oh, sorry. Ah, sorry. This is some junk code. Just remove this. Sorry. Okay, just a typo errors and few kind of stuff. It is not like okay. The server is running on 3000 port now. So if you go for a postman, you remember like last time we have created our user collection. Okay, inside learn node collection, get user list is one of the method we have created. Here, whenever you are calling get user list, as I mentioned earlier, it will first come to the app.js. Inside the app.js, first of all, it will use a slash user because your request is having something like a slash user slash get user list. It is a get method, so it will go to the user router. Inside the user router, it will come to here. Get user list is a method it will invoke. From the controller, it will go to the controller method. Inside the controller, you are not using any parameters here, but instead of that, you are calling on services. It will go to the get list user services here. From here, we are returning. If you come back to the here, right? You remember I told like when I come to the service layer should not know what is the request and response. Here, you should not know what is the request and response. Definitely, even if you put a request and response, it won't work here because up to controller layer only it should be there. Okay, now when I try to run here, right, when I hit here, what will happen? You see, I added something like value you something like this, right? So if you observe properly, our node server is setup is up and running in such a way like we have following the best standards like app.js, from their global middlewares, from their local middlewares, from their routing, and from their controller layer, and then service layer, and then DB layer, you need to integrate. Of course, you know how to connect to the DB, but you need to segregate the things. Okay. In the further sessions, what we will do, we will integrate our PostgreSQL here. But guys, just please read about a MongoDB and install a Mongo Compass in your machine. I told you again and again, just please install this MongoDB Compass in your machine. Basically, I'm going to give you some example on this one, like uh, I mean, for now, once if I connect to the database, right, I will give you a small project in the sense, I will ask you to write one get call, post call, put call, delete call. I mean to say, like I will prepare one document and I will share it with you. You just need to do that and upload in a GitHub, and you need to share your GitHub links with me. So spend some time. If you have any questions, I'm here always to help you, but try to understand the stuff. I mean, mainly the syntax first, try to understand how the router will work. If somebody come back to you and ask like what is the router, please don't put some blank faces on them. Just explain them like there is router is a concept where you can bifurcate your particular request from the app.js to any of the router system. Inside the router system, we will have a endpoints. Based on the endpoints and the method names, it will route to the particular value. For example, inside the app.js, you don't need to put a slash user of get list, slash user of post list, and all. Simply you can use slash user, only one route. With that route, inside the routers, based on the endpoint or the API, you will segregate your particular routers. Okay. Uh, just a minute. Anyways, I'm supposed to close. Give me 2 minutes. Okay. I'm just going to end. Just a minute, please. Where is that? Okay. Where is that? Just a minute, just a minute. I have some. Oh my god. I just got missed. Just a minute. Oh, Hardy project is here. The document got missed. Just a minute. Jira. Okay. Just give me a minute. Hmm, there is a backlog inside the backlog. Uh, oh my god. What is that? Uh, just give me a second, guys. Here I have something called Epic is there. Where is that Epic? I'm searching for Epic. If you got the Epic, then definitely you can. No, the Epic is not here, but that's fine. Anyways, let's don't waste your time. I will share it with you guys. I will have some front end requirement, back end requirement is there. I will just make all the requirement into a single PDF and I'll share it with you so that you can start working on the things. But meanwhile, please try to do this setup. I mean, this setup is already in your systems. If it is already done, it is fine. Otherwise, please save it or do some setup like this. I already everything mentioned. I think I already shared this Express project in our folder, right? I think here inside the Node.js Express routing is there. Here we have everything along with the routes. I have added another thing, right? So just a minute, I will update that one as well, so that you can directly take a new thing. Okay, this is what we have, right? Okay. Um, I will put a name something like Express Demo. Okay, just go here and you can see. Uh, I will drop all my files. Controllers we need, middlewares, routes, services, app.js, package.json. That's it. We don't need any other stuff. Just take these things and just try to, right, how to download this one and just put npm install first and then npm run start. That's it. Everything will be created automatically. Node underscore modules will be created automatically, and then package-log.json will also be created automatically. So make sure you are just going through the services up to services. Try to finish this one, and then we will have a MongoDB. I have something. Anyways, just a minute. I will give that code as well so that you guys can start practicing this stuff. No demo, env file, index.js. Yeah, this is the one for a MongoDB, right? So what I will do, I will create one thing. I'm going to select DB connection. DB connection Postgres. Okay. Anyways, this is we have inside the notes. We have everything covered. I mean, if you come here, right here, we have everything. But for your convenience purpose, I'm just uploaded these stuff as well. Oh, sorry, you don't need this one. Only these two, these three. That's it. Come on. Okay, done. So there are three concepts you need to learn. One is a express routing, where you will see only the routing part. When you go for express demo, you will see the routing along with the services, controllers, layers, everything. DB connection is a separate concept where you can know how to connect to the DB. And now we need to integrate these two, and we need to create one new project from our side. Okay. Tomorrow we will try to finish that stuff. Okay. Thank you guys. But first of all, let me know if you guys have any questions. Now it's a session question time, so you can.
Recording stopped.
I just stopped the recording. Please go ahead with your questions, please.